The Badgers win. They bring it home against Rutgers on the road. Why? This is the type of game that inspires confidence in this team.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Part of Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, as always, Ryan Herrings. Thank you for being here. Today's episode brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Let's exhale a little bit because that game felt like it was in control, and then it felt like it was going to get away for a sec. Good, bad, and ugly. We always start with that on these games. Actually, I'm changing it around because I don't like the good, bad, and the ugly because there's too much negative there. So we're going to do the good, the curious, and the ugly this time. The good, it's what I said in the lead. Winning a tough game on the road. And that's a tough place to play. I've been there. Like, Badgers have generally struggled there. Even when they've had wagons of teams, they've struggled at playing Rutgers on the road. This was a game where it felt like the fouls didn't quite play out the way you thought it would. It felt like certainly you had an injury issue. Max Klesmit went down in the middle of the game, and it felt like Nolan Winter got dinged up a little bit and had to sit. You had to overcome obviously the road environment, an injury or two, some foul discrepancy stuff, turnovers, which that's on you, but you still have to overcome it. Like, Wisconsin didn't play great and clean in the second half offensively for sure, but you still have to overcome those things. That's the good, man. You have to be able to win ugly games once in a while. You're not going to put 116 on most teams. You're not going to put 100 on most teams. Can you go on the road, not play your best, but not collapse? Do you have the gumption? Do you have the ability to execute down the stretch and win in a tight game on the road when you haven't played your best? There's things we're going to get into here that I didn't love, but that felt good. Road games in the Big Ten are tough. Road games in the Big Ten are not easy, and to be able to go on the road, win when you didn't have your best stuff, it feels like that's a win that validates a little bit of toughness of character on this team. So I think that was really good. The curious for me is the offense. Started off really well. They were pushing the ball in transition a little bit, but they were really getting to the rim. Now, Rutgers, it felt like, turned it up during the game. It kind of felt like Rutgers came out not fully engaged, and Wisconsin jumped on them quickly, took advantage of that. But there was a stretch starting, and I put it in a tweet at halftime, starting at about 2 minutes left in the first half. It felt like Wisconsin stopped trying to attack the paint for a little bit, settling for a lot of deep shots, some quick ones, like dribble the ball up in transition, shoot right away. I've talked a lot about I don't mind quick shots with this team because that's what this team is built to do. They're kind of built to shoot quickly, but that doesn't mean dribble the ball up and shoot from 3 feet beyond the rim or from the 3-point line. You still run offense and then generate good looks out of your offense a little more. If those good looks come out of your offense quickly, that's fine. It felt like too often we were going back to playing a little bit of hero ball, a little bit of one-on-one isolation ball. We weren't hitting the post. We weren't hitting the paint. I felt like we settled a little bit offensively. To me, that was the curious. And the bad, Max Klesmit injury is what I have. Also turnovers. We're going to talk about turnovers too. But so a couple things with the Klesmit injury. The first is he had just hit a 3. It felt like he was getting unlocked. By the way, let's talk about that really quickly. Rutgers comes out. They come out in a 1-2-2 press. So they're trying to get 1-2-2 or 2-2-1. I'll have to go back and look. But they came out in a press. Badgers broke it, got into the half court, immediately organized their offense, ran a baseline sprinter, which was Klesmit, off a Stephen Crowl pinned off a Stephen Crowl screen, got the ball to Klesmit in the corner, banged the 3. Couple things. That is a sign of a really well-coached team. When the defense can shift in the middle of a game and you immediately get into a great set, get a great look, it doesn't matter if you bang the 3 or not. They immediately adjusted to the Rutgers look. Rutgers went out of that zone and never came back to it. They said, nope, that's not going to work with this group. That was a really, really encouraging sign if you're looking for this team. It's a veteran team that adjusts well to those spots, but it's also a sign of good coaching. But yeah, Klesmit gets hurt, and he got hurt on a garbage. Like, at best, that's a borderline dirty play. I don't remember who in Rutgers had the foul, but the whistle had already blown. Max was just kind of throwing up the whatever shot that every basketball player throws up, and then the Rutgers player kind of got underneath him, which, if that's a live ball, that's probably a flagrant play. That's in the NBA. Like, in the NBA, you're getting a flagrant for that, live ball or not. I don't understand what he was doing there. He clearly got kind of up underneath him. The whistle had already blown, and then you lose Max Klesmit over that. that felt like a dirty play in the moment. I don't know the guy. Mark F says dirty play. It kind of felt like it. It kind of felt like it, to be honest. Player of the game. Who is your player of the game today? I'm curious who in the chat is your player of the game today. My player of the game today is Stephen Crowl. Listen, game high plus and minus 23. Now, plus and minus is the indicator of how many points you were above or below when that player was on the court. So he had the game high 23 there. Plus and minus isn't the greatest stat. I don't always love it, but it felt like tonight it kind of fit. Crowl was engaged. He was aggressive, incredibly efficient again, right? 8 of 11, had 18 points on 8 of 11 shooting, 2 of 3 from 3. Are you kidding me? Listen, I think he should shoot the threes a little more often. You're seeing defenses. I don't know if you're seeing this as well, Badger fans, but you're seeing defenses start to leg off of him because he stopped shooting the ball. So he's being given 2 or 3 feet of space. You got to shoot it. And 2 or 3 today, really good on the boards, had 10 boards, also had 3 assists, 2 on just beautiful dimes to cutters, 1 to Kamari McGee, 1 to Tonje or Blackwell, I forget. But 18 points, 10 boards, 3 assists on 8 of 11 shooting. Yeah. Crowl, that's great effort from Stephen Crowl today. A couple other people in the chat have Kamari McGee as the player of the game. Kamari McGee was really good too. A couple of the shots Kamari McGee made, which kind of was at the beginning of the Badgers' lull. Those were really big shots to keep kind of Rutgers at arm's distance. I thought he played really well. Some really nice defensive possessions from Kamari McGee as well, isolating on the perimeter, not letting people get by him, forcing some tough looks. I thought he definitely played well. Lenny Dime says Stephen Crowl. Steve Nebo and McGee made big shots in the last couple of minutes of the first half. Yes, he made 2 really tough contested shots. Now, again, that's not necessarily great offense. That's just Kamari McGee making a great offensive play. The Badgers lost their offensive rhythm, and they really didn't find it up until maybe like 4 or 5 minutes left in the second half. But McGee doesn't make those 2 big shots, those one-on-one contested jumpers going into halftime. This game is maybe different. It's maybe very, very different. Mike McCobb says Blackwell then Crowl. Blackwell had game high 21, came out really aggressive, definitely like that. Cannon L, Tonje, when we needed a bucket, he got it. Going to talk about Tonje next in the next segment. He really, really saved the Badgers bacon in the second half there. This Landon says Big Steve. A couple other people are Steve guys here for the player of the game. Badger fan says Crowl for sure. Logan Brew, got to say Stephen Crowl. P says McGee was a playa. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Steve, let me get to this one. Thomas Mueller says, and I apologize for this. He said, WTF, it said 8:30, which is when I was starting live. I never really know when games are going to end. So generally the rule of thumb is, and I'll get better at this, I promise. This is on me. But generally the rule of the game is I just kind of put a start time so I can schedule the show. But then I just go live after the game. That's on me though. But that's generally how I do it. All right, let's take a break there. We do need to, I completely forgot to do this actually, because I'm excited that we won this game.
This is awesome. It's a good day for me. Come on in here, buddy. Get up on that line.
Yeah, it's usually the first thing we play after a win. And this was awesome. This did feel good because this was a game that easily could have got away. And this is a game that other Badger teams have let slip away. I think last year's team in the middle of that slump, that winter slumber that they were in, I think they might have let this game slip away. But a combination of Blackwell, Tonje kind of kept us from doing that. Crowl as well. Let's talk about all those guys coming up next on Locked On Badgers and why Tonje really kind of saved our bacon in the second half. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at Gametime. Gametime is the #1 source for all your ticketing needs. Whatever y'all want to do in life that has a ticket attached to it, it's probably on Gametime. And let's do more things in life. Let's get together more. Let's go celebrate events more. Let's go to concerts and musicals and drag races and NASCAR and all those things. You can find those tickets on Gametime. It is the best, easiest, fastest, simplest, cheapest, most user-friendly, graphical user interface ticketing marketplace on the internet. They're the reason we go there. And right now, you can stank the tickets without the stress. Download the Gametime app today. Use code LOCKEDON for $20 off. So you're going to download the app. Simple. We all know how to do that now. This is 2024. Create the account. Use that same password you use for everything else. It's all good. Then you're going to use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Get the tickets to the events you want to see over at Gametime right now. Really do appreciate everybody tuning in. Go check out Gametime, the #1 source for all of your ticketing needs. Okay, let's talk. Actually, let's get some comments here. How are you guys feeling? Where's the optimism at now? Are we feeling better or worse after this game? Because you're coming off that Iowa game where you looked like an elite offensive team. And then you're coming off this game where this had shades of previous Wisconsin teams. A lot of late shot clock, contested jumpers, some turnovers, not these offensive droughts. You guys remember that from the last decade, this 4 or 5 minute offensive drought. You had a couple of moments in this game that you felt some of that happening. Curious where you guys are all on that one. I'm going to bang with some comments here because, again, these shows are really about the community. Caleb Roth, honestly, games like this give me more confidence now that I know they can win games that are shootouts and can win games that are mucked up. I love that comment from Caleb. That's what I led the show off with. I 100% agree, right? You have these games that you can point to that, I mean, the best teams can win in multiple ways. UConn has done that for a couple years now up until kind of this year, but the best teams can beat you offensively, but they can also win a game that's a little ugly. This was a spot in this game where the defense had to step up, and outside of some defensive rebounding issues, which I'm going to get to, I thought the defense did step up for long spurts in that second half where Wisconsin wasn't scoring. That should give you some confidence as a Badgers fan that this team, one of the big questions we had before the season started was, does this team have to outscore everybody to win? Or is there a game where the defense can step up and maybe play, maybe not the leading role, but at least equal partners to the offense? They did that today. A couple of other things here I wanted to get into. Some box score stuff. Gave up 18 offensive rebounds. I thought that was a big issue this game. Multiple times Rutgers had 2 or 3 attempts at the rim. Moments where it can't just be Crowl or Winter, right? It has to be a little bit more of Tonje. It has to be a little bit more of Amos. I thought Amos had some really nice minutes in the first half today, but I also thought there were minutes in the second half where he was in there, and he's got to be the guy to get those rebounds if he's in at the 4, and especially in the minutes he's playing with Winter, because with Crowl out of there, Amos and Winter have to be more active on the glass. And there were times this game where they got beaten up. The turnover stuff, obviously, that's another one I put into the ugly ones. Had 16 turnovers. 4 or 5 of those, honestly, just felt unforced. Bad passes. There was a couple really bad reads. They got away with one of them in the second half as well. You just got to be cleaner with the ball. And by the way, Rutgers, especially a team like Rutgers, but there's other teams in the conference that do this. They attack off turnovers. There was 8 or 9 points. I haven't seen the official box score. There was at least 8 to 10 points in the first half directly off Wisconsin turnovers. Led to a Rutgers lead out, open 3, bang. Rutgers lead out, open 3, bang. Rutgers lead out, layup, bang. And it's at least 8 points in the first half just off careless turnovers. And Greg Gard, we heard him mic'd up in the second half. He talked about it. You've had 14 possessions this half and 4 turnovers. Got to be cleaner. And that's something they'll work on. I'm sure that's something they'll clean up. Give Rutgers a little credit. That is an athletic team, and they definitely turned up the pacing. They turned up the defensive intensity, and it almost felt like it took us a little while to react to that counterpunch, but they got to be a little quicker there for sure. Ace, I just want to point this out too. The announcers couldn't stop talking about Ace Bailey. That's the freshman from Rutgers, came in. He scored a couple buckets. He was 3 of 16. I just felt like it was so ridiculous. He would just go one-on-one every time, take a shot, and they just could not stop talking about him. All right, let's get some questions here. Jason Geldon, are questions or comments. Jason Geldon says, I really like the schedule in January for us to go on a bit of a run now. Yeah, so you have 2 home games coming up. This was a really big win because now it sets you up to potentially sweep this kind of 4-game stretch that we've been talking about. So you win this one, and now you're going to Minnesota at home. Minnesota's not a very good team. Then you get Ohio at home. Those are 2 super winnable games, and you got to beat them. Listen, let's not get ahead of ourselves. We remember Michigan from last year. Everybody sadly probably, unless you drank yourself to sleep after that game so you didn't have to remember, or you took the Men in Black little laser thing to the eyes, we all remember Michigan of last year. You got to still win the games. But they have set themselves up to go from 0-2 in the Big Ten to 4-2. They've given themselves a path where that can happen. And I agree with Jason. The schedule sets up pretty well. Bryce says, Tonje's been a great story, but Blackwell special. Blackwell has more in his bag. He just does. His ability to, and even the last bucket of the game where, he drives, Euro step through, pivot to the layup. He had a incredibly pretty mid-range drive, spin back, fade away. Those are NBA mid-range type looks. He's so skilled. And you can see where that growth has come. Now, I think he got a little too aggressive at points in today's game, hunting his shot. Again, it's what I talked about in the first segment. I think there were a few too many moments where he just kind of went 1-on-5 and took a 3 when there was still 25 seconds on the shot clock. We hadn't run any offense yet. I don't hate those shots, but I think we can get better ones. It's as simple as that. I don't hate the occasional heat check either, but I think we can get better shots. And you have to, throughout the course of the game, continue hunting those good shots, because that's how you really wear a team down, and that's how you really put them in the grave. They had the foot on the neck against Rutgers today, and then they kind of let off because I think I felt like they turned the ball over and they stopped playing offense. You keep running your offense when you're up 15 on the road against a team that, you know, is missing some pieces, or Harper wasn't 100%. I think you could have buried this team in the first half. I really do. And I think they let their foot off the gas a little bit because they got a little too 3 happy. You know, I think they fell into the trap. And I remember listening to, I'm going to blank on the name. Phoenix Suns coach, but Houston Rockets coach. But he, Mike D'Antoni, thank you. I said thank you to myself. Nobody even gave me that. Thank you, Ryan. Mike D'Antoni, and he always talked about, don't fall into the trap of what the other team wants to do. Rutgers wants to run. That's all they really want to do. They want to get up and down. And I felt like Wisconsin fell into that trap a little bit. And because it's fun to get up and down, it's fun to take quick shots. That helped Rutgers get back into it, in my opinion. Lenny Dime says, lots of kids stepping up for this team. I agree. Great day from Gilmore. Not a whale points that out. Gilmore continues to impress. I thought there were some good minutes for Amos today. Definitely Kamari McGee stepping up and playing really, really instrumental ball. Jack Janicki. Now, I think he feels like he's searching for it a little bit, but he had what should have been a great block that was called a foul. So I agree. A lot of pieces moving in. Next segment, we're going to talk about the lineup potentially without Max Klesmit and what that looks like, and maybe if there's another piece that needs to step up. But I agree with this. Mike McCabe says, good, gritty game. Agree. Gabe Ramos, need to close out January strong. February is going to be tough. I agree. You got to take advantage of the lulls in the schedule in the Big Ten. Again, you're not going to win every game that you should, and you're not going to lose every game you should. But you have to take advantage of the appetizers on the plate, you know, because the main course is a bigger deal. Cannon says, I like Tonje down the stretch when we need scores the most. He seems to always come through. Yeah, let's talk about that. Tonje carried the team offensively in the second half. And again, it wasn't clean offense. I don't think that's the type of offense you want to rely on, where it's basically Tonje drive baseline, Tonje create space with a step back 3. But it's nice to know it's there, right? It's another way this team can be successful. And that's a heartbreaking shot if you're a Rutgers fan, right? You clawed all the way back, second half, the crowd's into it, and then Tonje drives in, plants that right foot, bounces back, drains the 3 in front of you. Well, that's cold-blooded. And that's what he gives this team. It's an exciting element of veteran presence, a guy who can hit tough shots, a guy who can close out a game, and a guy who, if you're a defender, you really can never relax on. And he had an incredible second half. Really carried the team, got to the free throw line, finally got to the free throw line. The Badgers didn't shoot a free throw in this game until like I don't know the exact time, but it was like the 4-minute mark of the second half. That was absolutely ridiculous. Mike says, curious about the Klesmit injury. I agree. Jerry says, Crowl was a huge factor today. More aggressive and he looks relaxed. Mark F also says, good Crowl game. Yeah, I'm telling you, like Crowl, this is what I've been saying all year is Crowl engaged is a good center. And he looks extra engaged now, right? Tons of credit to Greg Gard. Tons of credit to Greg Gard. And tons of credit, as I said last show with Rajiv, tons of credit to Stephen Crowl for taking that feedback. And because a lot of people get feedback, they go the other way. Crowl got feedback. He got aired out a little bit in the public, right? You got to get more rebounds, Greg Gard said. If you're a starting center, what are you doing? And what have we seen? Crowl turned it on. I think you got to give a ton of credit to both guys, Greg Gard and Stephen Crowl. Greg Gard for being the coach, knowing what buttons to push, not benching him, but understanding that he needs to get after him a little bit. And Stephen Crowl for taking that and applying it in the right way, because a lot of players don't. That speaks to the culture of the team. That speaks to Stephen Crowl's maturity. That also speaks to Greg Gard as the coach. I think it's really good stuff there. All right, we're going to take 1 second for our friends of the show. Come back. We're going to talk about what might happen if Klesmit's out of this lineup. What do I see the rotation looking like? Who might need to step up the most? Plus, get more of your comments. Locked On Badgers coming up next. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show over at FanDuel. FanDuel is the official sports book of the NFL. I talked about it, the official sports book of Ryan Herring's. Why would you want, what have I ever steered you wrong? I've helped you all sorts of ways. You can trust me on this one. Parlays, future spreads, teasers, it's all there. And NFL playoffs are coming up, so this is a great time to do it. Obviously, college football playoffs are still going on, college basketball, NBA, it's all over there on FanDuel. FanDuel has so many ways for you to pick up the W. And right now, new customers can finish the season strong with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins over at FanDuel. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com. Or a chance at $250 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Terms do apply. Again, create the account, redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Let's keep talking here. Get back into this. Definitely want to say thank you again. We have 250 people in here watching. It's so like this community is the best ever, and you guys are the best ever. I'm excited for our upcoming Locked On Badgers Oregon event. We're going to get together. Hopefully, I can see a bunch of you there too. Even if you're not coming to the game, come join us in Madison. Let's get some food together. Let's get some drink together. I'm really excited for that one. Let's talk Klesmit. What happens if Klesmit is out for a significant amount of time? And for those that maybe didn't watch the show or watch the game or were catching up on this show, he rolled his ankle. We don't fully know how bad that is yet. Rolled ankles can be, for anybody who's hooped before or anybody who's followed the sport, it could be a day, or it could be, depending on if it's a high sprain or low sprain, like it can be a week, couple weeks, 4 to 6 weeks. We don't know. I'm not going to speculate. What happens to this lineup if he's out of it? Well, I think the obvious one is something we've already talked about. You put Kamari McGee at the starting point guard spot, and then you flank him with Tonje and Blackwell. That's fine. In fact, I actually really like that lineup. However, now you have to replace, you probably give McGee, he goes from about 20 minutes a game to probably about 30 minutes a game, 25 minutes a game. But now you have to replace that other chunk of time. I think it's more minutes for Janicki. I think you maybe play a little more small ball. It's tough because this is where Cameron Hunter, if he's ready to go, is an obvious kind of fill-in. This is where Daniel Freitag, if he was maybe at the point that we had thought he would be kind of an obvious fill-in to gobble up some of those minutes. But who is your behind Kamari McGee? Who is the guard you're really looking at right now he needs more minutes or he can easily fill into this role? I don't know if it is. So I think what you might have is playing a little more Jack Janicki up, or maybe a little more Carter Gilmore up. It's tough. Hopefully this is not a big injury, because even Max Klesmit being hurt and being out for a while, today had 3 assists, like is a good defender, had 4 rebounds. He can give you a lot of the other things even when he's not shooting well. And we also know that somewhere locked inside him is that 35, 36 career percent 3-point shooter. It's a big loss for the Badgers. Hopefully it's not too severe, and hopefully it's not too much of an extended loss. But in the meantime, I think you're going to ride Kamari McGee more. And then you're probably going to play more Tonje, Blackwell at the 1 and 2 with Janicki at the 3, Carter Gilmore at the 3. Is what I think you would do. Thomas Miller says, "What is the date?" I think you're talking about the Oregon meetup. We're doing that. I think it's the 22nd is when we're all getting together down there. So anybody that wants to come would be absolutely welcome. It would be a ton of fun. Jason says Klesmit's injury comes at the right part of the schedule. I agree. Quinn Moe says McGee plays a much bigger role without Max. I agree for sure. You're gonna ride McGee, but the problem is nobody plays 40 minutes. McGee's been playing about 22, so now you got to fill in another 18, 15 minutes. And what happens if McGee gets in foul trouble or things like that happen? So you are going to have to find some type of fill in here. And again, it speaks to maybe Cameron Hunter can give you 5. Like maybe that's some of the answer, but there is a hole on this roster right now at backup point guard, or not at backup point guard. There's a hole in this roster in the backcourt right now with more depth that we generally thought was filled with a combination of Hunter and Freitag, and just isn't. So it is going to be interesting to see where they go from there. Will Hannah, Ryan, you may have to come up to the cabin in June for some of the best food you have ever had. Yes, you had me at food. Yeah, hit me up. I would absolutely love that. Ty, tough way to roll your ankle. I agree. That was a borderline dirty play for sure. Rajiv says, got to be more Hunter. Let's see what he has. Probably. It does put him in a tough spot. Like, it's not going to be Freitag. I should say that. But it does put him in a tough spot. I think you're probably going to lean on the trio. And I'm talking through this as I do it, as maybe you guys notice. I think you're going to lean on the trio of Tonje, Blackwell, Kamari, and just ask them to play the bulk of the minutes there. Right, between those kind of 2 or 3 spots. Have them play the bulk of the minutes, and then you're going to have to play bigger at the other spots. Bo Dragon says, I'm watching on mute. Ryan looks angry. I don't look angry. I don't look angry at all. I'm happy. Justin Tyler, what about the injury for Winter? I don't know. I'll say this. It looked like Winter was fine on the bench. It looked like he wasn't getting any additional work. It looked like he was sitting fine. Looked like he was moving fine. I don't think the Winter thing is serious just based on what we're seeing. Klesmit was at least on the bench during the game. Like, a lot of times if it's really severe, he'll be in the locker room. He'll be getting treatment. They'll be getting that kind of stuff done. It looked like it didn't look like a severe ankle injury from watching him on the bench, but that is far and away from like a medical professional opinion. We're going to find out. I'm hoping both of them, nothing serious. Ryan says Ace Bailey is a punk. The end. There's some punk behavior out there. I would agree with that. Mitch Ames might be Cam Hunter's turn. Yeah. And listen, you're not asking him, and he's played, right? Cam Hunter's come out at the end of a half. He's come out, he's got a 3 last game against Iowa, kind of garbage time, but so he's healthy. He's here. A great opportunity if Cam can come in and soak up 5 to 10 minutes. I think that's what you're looking for. If Cam can give you 5 to 10, you're going to be fine as long as everything else is okay. As long as nobody else gets hurt, you don't have foul trouble. I think that works just fine. Let's see. Any more questions here? Quinn Mo says, why not free tag? I just don't think he's ready. It's as simple as that. I don't think he's quite ready. G6 says Blackwell, Big Ten Player of the Week. I'm not sure. We'll have to see. I actually don't know who else in the Big Ten had big weeks or not, but he's been great. He has been on a tear, coming up that 32-point game against Iowa. It would be tough to envision someone else putting up better back-to-back performances than Blackwell. So definitely there. Mitch Ames says, dude, Stover Klesmit after he went down. I agree. Like that. I'm telling you, that play felt dirty. But it's my guy. Like, Klesmit's a Badger. If it was flipped the other way, maybe I wouldn't think it was dirty. It felt borderline dirty for sure. Okay, let's wrap it up there, guys. Again, big win for the Badgers. You got to get the road wins. A bunch of comments I didn't get to. I will be doing a community show pretty soon, so I'll try to wrap a lot of this up into the community show. But on Wisconsin, Badgers beat Rutgers. Let's go. When you're done here, go check out Locked On Big Ten and Locked On College Football for all the biggest stories on those networks. Really do appreciate everybody tuning in on Wisconsin. We will talk later.